Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param. Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay. Uh, we we have seen yesterday in the previous classes the development. First, Krishna exalting self-knowledge as the ultimate knowledge. He's going to go into the nature of the creation because he says that we need to understand our composition, what we are in our substantial nature as body, mind, sense complex. So we're going to go a bit into the gunas, but he's still explaining that fundamentally everything is a mixture of matter/energy and spirit, meaning to say prakriti, the gunas, prakriti, and consciousness or purusha. So we know that we have these two basic principles within our composition. So we can say, okay, so if everything is consciousness plus prakriti, so there is no difference between the jivas, among the jivas. So there are differences because the prakriti of each jiva is somehow unique. The prakriti nature of the jivas is something very unique, the same way there are no two snowflakes which are different. Everyone is unique. So, but fundamentally, we are a byproduct of the gunas plus consciousness. And then we have seen the difference, between consciousness or purusha and prakriti. We have seen that both are anadi, meaning to say they are without beginning. But then we have seen the difference. So that one is satya, is the only reality, and then it is nirguna, whereas the other is saguna. One is chetana, is conscious or sentient, the source of human or jiva's sentience. The other is inert. And one changes from moment to moment. Our prakriti nature is changing, having a beginning and an end. Whereas our nirguna nature, our purusha nature is free from any change. No properties, no attributes, no change. Properties, attributes, change, being the beginning and the end, the most radical change. And then we have seen that both of these principles together bring about the cosmos, the universe. So the same way that father and mother come together to produce a child, same way consciousness alone cannot produce the cosmos, and prakriti alone, Maya alone, also cannot produce the universe. So we need both, and then we have all those analogies, which can be problematic to the extent that we attribute purusha to the male individual and prakriti to the female, because prakriti is inert. So the female is inert and the male is a conscious sentient being. So every analogy, any example has some problems. But it's a good analogy if we don't get involved with the limitations of every and all kinds of analogies. Then we have seen that both of these principles together brings about Ishwara. In truth, it brings about Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagata, because everything is a mixture of Purusha and Prakriti. The Prakriti nature of Ishwara is almost entirely Sattva guna, but it has some Tamaguna and Rajaguna as well, according to the scriptures. Every individual, every jiva is a mixture of Purusha and Prakriti as well, Krishna says. We know the Purusha nature is Nirguna and Nirvikara, is Satya and is Chetana. So these are the four uh, features of Purusha or consciousness, Nirguna, Nirvikara, and no guna is involved, no change, the only source of sentience and the only reality. Whereas Purusha is Saguna, Savikara, Mithya, and Achetana. So our body mind is Achetana, which makes us a little bit confused. And in fact, spirituality is all about that. How can this body mind, which is inert Achetana, have become a conscious being? And then subconsciously, everybody makes the mistake to attribute human consciousness to matter, to the body mind sense complex. Vedanta comes to say, no, consciousness is free and independent, but somehow it shines in the body mind, producing a reflected consciousness. Reflect consciousness explains to the point. The way this consciousness is not inherent to matter energy, but somehow it's produced when there is a connection, association with consciousness and a certain construct made out of prakriti, the body, mind, sense complex of a human being, for example. So I'm also saying that self-knowledge is synonymous of self-mastery. I need to understand my nature. I need to see how I function. I need to have a certain understanding of my prakriti nature so that I can have a say, I can have a certain uh, mastery, meaning to say ability to influence my prakriti nature. How so? So if it's too rajasic, I'm going to make an effort following the guidelines of the scripture to convert some of this rajaguna into sattvaguna. That's all I can do. Huh? So if I understand the gunas, if I understand my nature, my appearing nature properly, I can influence it. I can do things to affect its composition, the proportions of the gunas fundamentally, which is going to affect my lifestyle, which is going to affect my personality, my character, and so on. Self-knowledge, therefore, understanding one's saguna nature and nirguna nature is absolutely necessary for self-mastery. Self-mastery is a strong word. Self-discipline or somehow a certain degree of mastery in respect to my guna nature, my prakriti nature. Therefore, this mastery, I want to be master of my vasanas in another language, not a slave of my vasanas. So I start understanding this impulse, these tendencies, propensities, and I start connecting several dots. And then I say, no, I don't want to be pushed around by this or that vasana anymore. So I want to be a master of my vasanas, meaning to say, so I want to have a certain power to influence my vasanas, because one cannot be a master completely because that is construct design over many lifetimes, and Shwara is behind all of that. But we can implement some betterment, improvement, development, positive development, more sattva guna working for us. So the first step is to understand our apparent nature. The same way every disease needs to be cured, we need to understand the disease, get the proper diagnosis, and so on. So we want to understand why we are suffering, why I feel so much pain, why I grieve so much, why I suffer of depression, and so on. If we look at that, and then we're going to have to look into the composition or the construct of our prakriti, body, mind, sense complex, and try to make an effort to improve it, rather than, blaming things outside there, other people, government, and this and that. No, I take responsibility and I start making effort to implement positive change. So if I have a disease, a physical or mental disease, so I have to do the first step, try to understand that illness so that I can begin a process of improvement. If I should handle myself intelligently or properly, the first requisite is landing in my setup. My setup, he means to say, not the setup outside, his own setup. In other words, he means to say his mindset. Sometimes he plays, you can change the mindset or setup. Here, most probably, he's meaning to say our mindset. If I do not know how to handle myself, how am I going to master? To be a master of my family, he's making another parallel here. Nobody's listening to me, and so on. So self-mastery requires self-knowledge. I need to understand. I have to have a certain knowledge of my prakriti nature so that later on I have a good prakriti construct that's going to help me to understand my true absolute nirguna nature, purusha nature. I need to have a good prakriti nature so that I can qualify to understand my purusha nature. Therefore, self-mastery, self-knowledge involves knowing my prakriti composition, my construct, my nature. And again, you're gonna more at the surface, you're gonna see such a complexity when it comes down to our personality, our character, and so on. Things are very complex. But if we just go all the way down to the base, to the fundamentals, it's all about the three gunas, which from there, everything unfolds to the point of, having a certain character this way, that way. So we need to look more in its base, in its foundation, and understand that it all begins with the gunas. And then, of course, I need to work on my lifestyle because my goal is self-knowledge, because my lifestyle, once it's conformed to my goal of life, my ultimate purushartha, is going to influence my character. And I want to have a a lifestyle which is conducive to the development of more sattva guna. So I need to have more quiet environment, more contemplative. I need to have association with people who are on the same journey of developing more sattva guna. I have to preserve my space. I have to keep the proper environment. So lifestyle gets into the equation as well. And then we begin this work. That is not something that can be accomplished instantaneously, such as, it's just take some guna from here, some guna from there, and manage my gunas. No. Krishna wants to say that my composition is Purusha aspect as well as Prakriti aspect, and show the proof that I'm a Krishna. But Krishna wants to point that because I call it Ishwara. Now he's making a connection here. So we have made it a point that Ishwara is a mixture of Purusha plus the Sattva nature of Maya, Prakriti, with some inclusions of Rajoguna and Tamaguna as well. So if the mixture of the creator is Purusha plus Prakriti, and if I'm a byproduct of Ishvara, Ishvara creates it, and it's the nature of Ishvara as is Prakriti plus Purusha, my mixture must be as well Prakriti plus Purusha. It's the analogy of a bar of gold with some inclusions of copper and this and that, and then everything is going to come with the same composition. So fundamentally, we are a mixture such as Ishwara of Prakriti and Purusha. Ishwara being omniscient, it has a lot of sattva guna allowing it to be omniscient, all knowledge. In fact, Ishwara is knowledge, and the universe is knowledge, manifests as we see. It's pure knowledge. Without this knowledge, there is no universe. Just imagine a being which has so little tamaguna, rajoguna that does not require even a subtle body. It's an entity that cannot be explained intellectually. But yet we understand that is made out of pure sattva, sattva guna. It's a being made of pure knowledge. Only then it has the knowledge to project this world, which is designed by pure knowledge. It's sustained by pure knowledge, 24/7. So as well, we are mixed up. We have the same composition, but as we know, in order to bring about our physical body, there is a lot of grossification of the elements, and our physical body so has in its composition a lot of tamoguna. The pranas has a lot of rajoguna. The mind has more sattva guna, and it is in the mind that we need to work the conversion from tamaguna into rajoguna, rajoguna into sattva guna. The mind is the most sattvic of our three bodies, and we need to improve, to grow the composition, the proportion of sattva guna in the mind, because sattva guna is responsible for knowledge, clarity, wisdom, understanding. So that the price of becoming a manifest jiva, incarnated jiva, is that there will be more rajoguna and tamoguna in our mixture. And that it makes it a little bit more difficult to understand this simple knowledge, which is self-knowledge, because our mind is too gross. It needs to go through a process of spiritualization, subtilization, That's why he's introducing these features of creation. He says that Purusha Tattva, I am the Purusha Tattva, and I am inseparable from me is the Prakriti Tattva. So Maya is inseparable from me, otherwise called Maya. Maya is my wife, so in making the same analogy, husband and wife. And then he goes a little bit into these deities, which build into the Ved culture, beautiful symbolisms and so on. Without Prakriti, Purusha cannot project the universe. He makes a joke here, Indian joke. Purusha cannot do anything. Even now, in many houses, the husband cannot do anything. The wife, you ask, she will say, I will check up and say, the house is, under the control of prakriti. Wife took over, and the parampara continues. The womb means wife, the female prince, prakriti, such as the female principle. Female principle, my wife, Krishna says, is Maha Brahma. That's very misleading. The word Brahma here is Maya. The Prakriti Tattva, the word Brahma, in this context means Prakriti, the matter principle. Okay, it doesn't matter. There's no room for confusion because Swami is explaining that in certain contexts, Maya can receive the name of Brahma as well. Not Brahman, but Brahma. Brahma. What type of wife is this Prakriti? Maha Brahma, a universal mother. Why? Because of the potential for pregnancy to produce the entire universe. It's the greatest mother, the great pregnancy, therefore the universal mother who conceives the universe. Therefore, Krishna says, I, as Brahman, can say that Prakriti, Maya, is my wife, Maha Brahma. It's also an interesting concept because, as we know, Ishvara has two principles to it, which is the Purusha and Prakriti. And it becomes the creator, the mother of the universe, by Sattvaguna, which is its Prakriti nature. The mother, is a Prakriti nature, as we know that Purusha cannot give birth to the universe, but Maya can. So Maya, which is said to be Brahma, Mahabrahma, is the universal mother. Therefore, Maya is my wife. And the husband does not like to do many things when it comes home. The same way Krishna says, uh, and what do I do? I just stand as consciousness, as Purusha. When the time for the creation matures, uh, the life principle, the power of Maya emerges. And I transfer to the mother, to Maya, the power to create the universe, in another word. So he's trying to say that Purusha does not do anything. It's just the witnessing conscious existence, so to speak, the only reality. But somehow when Maya comes, Prakriti of Maya comes too close, and then it develops the power to create the universe. It's a beautiful construct, this one. I transfer the power to Maya. Just as the time of conception, the male transfers the seed to the womb of the mother. The female now is seeded with the same way Prakriti now is blessed with the seed of Purusha. I bless Maya with the power to give birth to the universe. Very beautiful. Like most any and everything in our sampradaya. Philosophically speaking, Garbha Dhanan, I suppose, should be blessing the Maya with the Chidabhasa, which in many of our texts is described as reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, which also is called also Garbha Dana. I activate Maya. I activate Maya, I impregnate Maya, I give Maya the power to produce, evolve jivas. The universe is project for the jivas. There is no purpose of a universe without the entity experiencing the universe. And the entity experiencing universe must have a sort of consciousness. This consciousness of the jivas is called Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. Once the conception has taken place, father, the male principle, has done the job. And it's pretty much like that, you know. The father makes love with the wife. The only thing he does is to try to have some fun here and there. And then all the work has to be carried out by the wife, you know. Has to deal with a being growing within herself and all the trouble, and then the pain of giving birth and so on. Therefore, Brahman, such as the male, the man, do not need to do much, anything. The babe fetus grows into the body of the mother the same way Brahman does nothing, and the universe emerges within Maya, according to the law of nature. The law of nature brings birth to a baby, a human baby or a dog baby. The same way the laws of nature are going to bring birth again and again to the origination of the universe according to our scriptures. And the father does not need to know anything. As I like to put, we don't know anything. We don't know even how to make our digest. Sometimes we suffer with indigestion and say, why? I want to have a good digestion. We don't know how. We get an idea of what I'm doing that is somehow making it more difficult to process food into nutrients. But directly, we don't have any knowledge or power to create a health digestive system. So the father does not need to know the laws that brings about the baby, but the mother need not to know the laws that are going to bring about the growth of this babe, a health baby in her belly. The laws of nature will make this babe grow appropriately according to its karma. And whatsoever transformation needed, the mother's body will provide. Similar, Krishna here says, once I bless or impregnate Maya, I need not do anything. Maya will evolve into this universe, the creation. The subtlest form of matter, which you may call energy itself, that will evolve like after the Big Bang, things evolve perfectly according to the laws. Evolution happens according to the supreme omniscience of the Creator, pure intelligence, pure knowledge. As we know, the knowledge projects and holds in place this manifestation. But this is a Mithya manifestation, which means to say it's changing all the time. It's adapting all the time. We call that evolution, but it's more like a constant flux of change or transformation or adaptation to the change within its environment, you know, it's all changing. We call it evolution. But if you really look into this word evolution, a lot of the time it appears to be involution. It's just change, adaptation. Just as the babe grows in the mother's body and the appropriate time 9 months. So the same, the universe emerge, stays, change, evolve, however you want to put it, according to the law of nature, the omniscience of the creator and its laws and principles. Before Big Bang, we cannot talk about time and space. As we know, time and space comes once the elements evolve. Before the development of the five elements and the grossification of these elements to produce physical and chemical elements, there is no time and space. We need this structure in place so that we can conceive time and space. Therefore, the concept of time and space is impossible before Big Bang. During the time of singularity, which is Maya, everything is there potentially, latently, but unmanifest. So I repeat several times that the scientists now they call it singularity. Singularity means non-duality, oneness. So there is nothing but only Purusha, consciousness. Before the Big Bang, there is only Purusha. Maya went to deep sleep. It's as good as non-existent. So there is only Purusha. This is singularity, non-duality. And then Maya wakes up and then starts producing diversity, plurality, the explosion that the scientists call Big Bang. So in the deep sleep of Maya, in analogy, the universe is in a state of profound deep state, which is deep sleep, which is non-information, no knowledge, ignorance. There is nothing. There is no knowledge, no information. There is no mind, no sentience. As we know, Brahman is not a knowing, experiencing entity. It's the source of knowledge to produce Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata. So therefore, singularity is a state of known information. In Vedanta, we call it Maya. Maya unmanifest. Maya as the seed. Maya as the prakriti before the three gunas come into place, before Ishvara appears and then start playing with the other energies to produce Jiva and Jagata. If there is no information at that point, that means what? The human intellect cannot understand because we understand things by collecting data, information, and then try to come to certain determinations, conclusions, inference. The people call it non-information. In Sanskrit, we call it Maya. And using our language, we say, okay, and then before the Big Bang, before the origination of the universe, there was only Purusha and Maya was unmanifest. So the Maya unmanifest. So how is this Maya unmanifest? In that condition, what is there? So every time we talk about Maya, we say, the scripture says, it's not understandable to the human mind, human intellect. If you have understood Maya, then you know that it is ununderstandable. You cannot know, you can never understand something which is before time, space, and human experience from where we begin collecting data and knowledge. How can you have knowledge of something, that you have no association with, no connection with? Therefore, we say that understanding Maya is impossible And a lot of people are caught up with this idea of, I want to understand this Maya principle. Understanding Jagata is very difficult because you will need to have an omniscient mind, such as the mind of Ishvara, to really understand, you know, all the nuance of this creation, the laws and principles, holding it together. So therefore, understanding Jagata is impossible. Understanding Maya is impossible. We get a certain understanding of the phenomenal world around us just so that we can get by. But the mystery is huge. We don't tap even into 0.0001% of the knowledge holding, or the mind of Ishvara, the knowledge holding this universe in place. So we don't know anything, but yet the scriptures say that within this Chidabhasa, this reflect consciousness, there is a potential for self-knowledge. Isn't it amazing? We cannot understand the creator, Maheshwara. We cannot understand the creation itself because it's too complex in terms of knowledge, but we have the potential to understand our nature as Nirguna Atma. So Brahman is possible to be known. Ishvara is impossible. Jagat is impossible. But Jiva has the potential to know the nature of Brahman. Why? Because it is its very nature. But we will not ever know as this and that because there is no room for this and that within our Saguna nature. You can only understand your Nirguna nature, by understand your own conscious existence as non-dual. You are not a conscious existence. We see this manifest as, as one among numberless other conscious existence that is only non-dual conscious existence. So we are this existence, this being, this self. So that is the space, Maya, where information is lacking. At the time of the Big Bang, information was not there, but out of that evolves the objective universe. Therefore, thereafter, we can try to trace how the creation came about, but we get very little clue of what science finds the process of evolution, how the human being came about, and so on. In another passage here, it said everything happens. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva Bhutaram, means all things and beings, the origination of all of these. Thereafter, at the moment of Big Bang, the inexplicable moment, everything evolves according to the law of the Creator, the laws of nature. So what happens then, the verse 14? Or Arjuna, whatever forms are born in all the wombs of all animals and human beings. In all these cases, the greatest prakriti is the womb. So he's just saying every creature from the minor one, that you need some instruments to see, to the largest possible dinosaur or something like that. You think that they are being born out of an egg. No, they are being born within prakriti. Prakriti is the egg, prakriti is the womb. And I am the father who provides the seed to prakriti. So he's again making reference to the mother of all beings, the womb of all beings, as Maya, as prakriti. The universal father is Purusha, Brahman. Maya is being exalted here as the true mother. We may see that, oh, my dog had many babies, but no, Prakriti has made several babies, because it's born within a certain construct made out of Prakriti. Prakriti is the true mother. And then Samji says, we are the universal couple. If you look at local human couple or even animal, there is a combination of father and mother, and then the child is born. The child has the features of both, as we know. Likewise, every living creature has the feature of both. They have a soul, they have a spirit, and they have matter and energy. It's prakriti, nature, to produce the instrument by which Purusha or consciousness manifests itself as a certain jiva. What is the difference between the universal couple, Bhagwan and Bhagavati, or Bhagwan, Brahman and Prakriti, Purusha and Prakriti, and the jivas, couples, the animal and human? Krishna says, even though many things are common between these two parents, two kinds of parents, there is one main difference. If you take any couple in this world, any male, female, humans or otherwise, they produce what? Child, a human child. So you cannot expect a human child from two dogs or two horses. So every construct is going to produce only one species of jivas. Whereas between Purusha and Prakriti, there is a potential for numberless births, numberless species. So therefore, it's the universal couple with the potential to produce all known species and many yet unknown species, because it keeps producing new species as well, never stops. All the species are produced by this universal couple. Very nice. Therefore, Krishna says, I am the universal father who impregnate Maya, and live in Maya by blessing it with reflect consciousness, Chidabhasa Pradhanena. I bless Maya, therefore I am the universal father. It's very interesting, this passage, because it puts Maya, Ishvara, as a Chidabhasa as well. In general, when we analyze the concept of Chidabhasa or reflect consciousness, we do that in reference to the jivas, the human jivas. But the prakriti of Maya is the macro reflector on which Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata appears, emerges, are reflected. So he says that I impregnate mind, I live in Maya by reflecting consciousness upon Maya. Maya, the reflection, the macro reflection upon Maya is called Chidabhasa Pradhanena, which most probably is a word making a distinction between the human jiva Chidabhasa. Did you look into this word by any chance, Lee?
Pradhana is mainly or principally Chidabhasa, principally reflected consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah, the original, the fundamental, the basic one. We have, as we say, we have a macro reflecting medium, which is the prakriti of Maya, which brings about Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. And then we see in the Jiva, we have a micro reflecting medium, which is the subtle body, that produce the reflected consciousness, the human consciousness, macro and micro, right? Therefore, we are the universal couple. I am the universal father.
So you're talking, Linda, about the macrocosmic subtle body.
Causal body, even, yeah, or subtle body, subtle. We say that the prakriti of Maya is the macrocosmic causal body. Now technically I got into a doubt here because in yeah, well, let's keep it as a subtle body because on the causal body there is everything unmanifest, but the prakriti is there, potentially, read to reflect Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. So when the reflection comes and then we have manifest Ishvara, and Mashvara is going to bring about Jagata and Jiva. Yes, we could say that way. It means the infinite Maya. Here also the Brahma means Maya, as we have seen before. The universal mother, the mother principle. Blessed by me, Maya becomes the universal mother for all species, from the vegetal, animal, and human species. Therefore, Krishna says, whatever Sava Yonis, is it self-explained down in the same line or what? Okay. Whatever species born out of the corresponding mother, as we have seen, but our supreme mother, our universal mother, our mother, which is Prakriti, once blessed by Purusha, is going to produce all species. Known species, unknown species, past species, future species. Therefore, Krishna says, Murti means Savaya Yunisu, Murti means Murtayaha, whatever type of body, whatever type of construct, okay, whatever type of Sharira. So whatever bodies or whatever species you experience here, born out of the local mothers, in truth, it's being born out of the universal mother, Prakriti. Prakriti is going to make certain constructs to produce specific births. But it all belongs to Prakriti. Therefore, Prakriti is the ultimate mother, original mother, the original cause of all species being born. Whatever living being born, Maya is the universal mother. This is the concept being repeated. Therefore, we are all children of Maya and Brahman. So we, in our body, mind, sense complex nature, we are children of Purusha and Prakriti. We exist as a body-mind-sense complex only by the union of these two principles. If you remove prakriti, I do not exist as a Chidabhasa. Fundamentally, my true nature, this Chidabhasa, reflect consciousness, is pure Purusha, but it's mixed up with Prakriti in such a way that it's difficult for me to discriminate, to discern, and understand my real nature from my Prakriti nature, and then claim and embrace my true nature as Purusha and have a different experience of myself and life. Purusha plus Prakriti consciousness plus matter, Nirguna plus Saguna Atma. So therefore, our substantial body-mind-sense complex nature is a mixture of both. Why we are a mixture of both? We say the body-mind-sense complex. So the body-mind is matter. It's a complex construct. That's okay. But we say that, but Purusha is there. Because if Purusha is not there, we would not be here as a body-mind, as a Prakriti construct. We are blessed in our origination. We are blessed during the sustenance of our body-mind-sense complex, all through. And we are blessed when the Supreme Father releases us from our Parabhada karma here. And Swami says that we will see it in the next class more deeply. So the next the next file here, which is going to address the verse 5, I guess. He said that the 4 verses were introductory to these guna teachings, prakriti teachings, the construct, the composition of the jiva and all and everything in Jagata. Remind us that just as in the 13th chapter we dealt with self-knowledge, Atmayana, Yana Yoga, here also we are looking into self-knowledge, and he began glorifying self-knowledge in the first 4 verses, as the only knowledge that will liberate the jiva from its grief and suffering. Therefore, we are here to get into this knowledge. After giving this introduction, he begins talking of the creation, not for that we can look at the creation and say, oh, yeah, it's so wonderful, this creation, there are 3 gunas. No, we are integral part of the creation. We want to understand creation because we want to understand the nature of this construct, body-mind, the body-mind construct. I want to understand why I behave in a different way from the next person, the person next to me, and so on. So that we can understand that fundamentally everyone is a mixture of Purusha and Prakriti, but yet every construct is different. Every construct is unique. And then somebody say, oh yes, this is my singularity. Like somebody was talking lately in a very vain way, discovering my singularity. So you are singular, but you are suffering. So how to be proud about you being a singular suffering person, you know? We are here to joy, to be happy, to have peace. And for that, we need to understand Prakriti nature first, and later on our Purusha nature. That's why we went into the cause of creation and evolution and the goodness as we begin this topic. That's why we talked about the parallel of being the universal father and mother. We are a mixture of the genetic print of our father and our mother. But fundamentally, we are a mixture of consciousness and prakriti, Brahman and Brahma, Brahman and Maya. Yeah? So what are you, what is you understand about yourself? Oh, I got to the base of it, the fundamental is I'm made out of consciousness and Maya. And then just imagine how people are going to look at you. You're a mixture of consciousness and Maya. Yes, in simple terms, I'm a mixture of God and Maya. And then things are going to get even more strange to the listener. That's why you keep the pocket here and there. He's making about Lakshmi Devi is supposed to be a deity that attracts prosperity and money and so on, if I'm not wrong. And it says that we are supposed to keep the pocket in our chest as a symbol of respect. But unfortunately, they begin making some clothes and putting pockets down there on our back. And the lower the pocket goes, closer it is to the pipes, the exit pipes of our body. And Swami plays like it should be away from there, on your chest, which is the chest of Vishnu. Because Parvati can never exist apart from Vishnu. It is there. Should be so close, such as, attached to the chest. That's why we keep the pockets on the chest for keeping the money, to keep Lakshmi Devi. Because Lakshmi Devi is very intimate to Vishnu. Therefore, it's not good to put the money away from your chest. The chest representing your Purusha nature. It means to say the Purusha and the Prakriti are inseparable. They are very, very intimately connected, Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi. There are other deities that they use for the same analogy. What Krishna wants to point out is since the cause of creation, the Lord is a mixture of these two principles. Therefore, everything spring from it is also a mixture of these two principles. If there is a mixture of copper and silver to the gold, everything is going to have the same composition. He's just making a recapitulation of what we have seen. I'm going to stop here. I have to begin resting my voice to see if I recover it. nicely and properly. It's no good to have this inflammation there persistently, persisting for too long. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Madaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. So when we meet next?
Friday.
Friday, no?
Okay. We meet.
Lovely class
then.
again. Thank you so much. I never
Thank you.
really put it together that, well, the consorts were there because of this mixture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a nice topic. We're gonna have fun in the next few classes of G chapter 14.
yes. Thank you,
Okay, my
Resta.
friend. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Arlinda. Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye bye.